Hello. You are at the Maintainers Track Open Telemetry session at Cloud Native and Open Source Virtual Summit, China 2020. We will talk about software design and implementation values that will follow in Open Telemetry. My name is Sergey Kanzhelev. I have more than 15 years experience in application monitoring. I'm a technical and governance committee member for OpenTelemetry and currently working at Google on Google Kubernetes Engine. You can find me on GitHub, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Sergey Kanzhelev. Today, we will talk about different topics, but the main goal of this talk is to introduce you to OpenTelemetry and explain how you can get involved. I also will talk about goals and aspirations the OpenTelemetry project has started with, its core values that we follow thoroughly. First, let me introduce you to OpenTelemetry. I will approach it answering three questions. What is OpenTelemetry? Why we need OpenTelemetry at all? And how OpenTelemetry can solve the problem that I will explain. Let's explore the aspirational goal of OpenTelemetry that you can find on our website. It is to make robust portable telemetry a built-in feature of cloud-native software. We believe that every application needs to be transparent to its owner in terms of troubleshooting, monitoring, and observability. It shouldn't matter if you developed this application yourself or simply compiled it as a binary from different components from numerous teams. There should be a single way to get observability signals. Standard output is a good example of that approach. No matter which component you use, no matter which library your application calls, there is a pretty good chance that this library can log something to standard out. And you can find most of troubleshooting information there, given the right verbosity. OpenTelemetry takes standard output approach to the very next level. It provides a single set of APIs and wire protocols alongside the collector service to collect and analyze all the signals that your application produces. It is extremely easy to enable OpenTelemetry. On this slide, I show .NET code, how to do it in .NET. You can notice that in .NET, you simply specify which signals you want to collect. Signals from ASP.NET framework, signals from HTTP library, and where to send these signals to. In this case, to Zipkin. And you can see results in Zipkin dashboard. Note, there are 7 lines of code to enable very rich functionality to track your application distributed tracing. And we keep simplifying this code. And hopefully, very soon, like in Java and Python already today, there will be no code enablement for OpenTelemetry and diagnostics. With Java and Python, we're releasing auto-instrumentation packages that can enable monitoring on any application, even if it's already running in production. Again, with OpenTelemetry, we are making sure that all components are instrumented with OpenTelemetry one way or another, and you simply enable it monitoring and start collecting the signal. And it is a true future of monitoring. According to Gartner, analytics firm, pretty soon, majority of applications will use OSS instrumentation, not a vendor-specific one. You may be skeptical and not trust analysts. You may say it's marketing hype. In this case, I shall explain why we need OpenTelemetry and how it was born. Let me tell you a story about checkbox competition. Only a few years back, there was a handful of app development platforms and database choices. Only a few. And every choice we had was developed quite slow. It was typical to have a release cycle of 1 year or more. And then, once software is released, once next version is released, you're waiting for service pack. Maybe for second service pack, and only then you install it into production. So a few companies that were working on monitoring tools can easily catch up with the number of platforms and tools developers were using. One supported platform for the company, one checkbox in the list of supported platforms. Customers were choosing companies, monitoring companies based on the price, for sure, but also based on the list of checkboxes checked for this particular company. Now, let's go back into the current days. Know the CNCF landscape. It's only open source components that people using day in, day out. It doesn't include all the vendor-specific platforms. It doesn't include some proprietary platforms. And all this software, including vendor and proprietary platforms, moving with a high velocity. You have releases every quarter. You have releases every month. And nobody can keep up with the pace of development that we observe these days. So this change in landscape answers the question why we need OpenTelemetry. Why there was a need to end this checkbox competition and work together to build a better monitoring and observability tool. There is simply too many things to support for every single company. But how OpenTelemetry can succeed? So let's get to the how question. The answer is we want to build it into every single library and platform. So they all will be pre-instrumented. And to do that, you need two things. First, you need to build a great set of APIs and SDKs that everybody love and enjoy. Then people will be ready to take dependency on it and build it into their software. And secondly, you need to build a community of people who are ready to work on this OpenTelemetry project together and spread the word. And we have truly amazing community. Amongst all CNCF projects, only in a single year, OpenTelemetry get to the second highest amount of GitHub activity. GitHub activity includes things like commenting and discussing issues, making pull requests, commenting on pull requests, writing documentation. And in less than 1 year, we get to the second place. It tells how many people are excited about this project and how many people want to collaborate. You may note also that there is no single company that overwhelms the space. Contributions are quite spread out across many companies. Some companies only contributed a little. Some companies contributed a lot. But there is no single company that dominates the space and dictates the rules. And this is very important for the project like that. Since there were so many companies from a get-go, we needed to make sure that a project has a good and fair governance model. And for governance model, we came with the approach The bigger your contributions are, the more influence you have in a project. Beyond the project vision, through governance, OpenTelemetry also defines a technical committee to oversee and direct all the development in a project. So next, let's take a look at how we make decisions on where to go with OpenTelemetry and why. Let's talk about values. In this section, I will talk about software design values in general, what people may choose to as their value. We'll talk about OpenTelemetry specific and think what examples we have in OpenTelemetry where these values were executed. This slide was heavily inspired by Brian Cantrell's talk, where he was talking about, I think, Rust development. This slide lists number of characteristics your application or piece of software may have that you may be interested in pursuing and develop. When you develop a piece of software, you definitely want your software to be robust and resilient. You think about simplicity and transparency of APIs. You pay attention on operability of your software, so everybody can troubleshoot if something goes wrong. This list on the slide outlines a small set of characteristics your application might have. And it's not prioritized in any way. It's just an alphabetical order. So you develop a piece of software. Oh, such a sweet feeling. You're crafting it. You're an artist. You want it to be the best piece of software ever. Know that every artist has its own style, and you are not an exception. Some engineers want to concentrate on performance, another engineer wants to concentrate on something else. And many times, characteristics from this table you pick goes into conflict with each other. Let's say you want to create a new API, and to make it more elegant, you want to require an allocation of an object. Not a big deal, you would say, but allocation on a critical path, it definitely hurts performance. And if you set performance as a main goal, you wouldn't probably go with this allocation. I'm not saying that single allocation is compromising performance. I'm just saying that making this decision towards elegancy of API, you declare your value. You declare that this value is a little bit more important than that. Sometimes decisions like that are very straightforward and not controversial at all. But it escalates rather quickly as software piece grows. And pretty soon, it's full of trade-offs, explicit and implicit. Some SDKs and software pieces may be developed for heavyweight backends. Let's say you write an SDK for that. You probably would prefer your SDK and API to be as expressive and simple to use as possible, so you always know which data you want to extract from this heavyweight backend. You don't want your backend to work for nothing, and you want it to be as performant as possible. You also will probably invest into operability of your API, so if anything goes wrong, you know about it right away. And you probably want to do it on very high velocity, so any backend changes are reflected in SDK right away. Or you may be developing a different API. This API may be library for quick access to some very small resources. You probably will want your implementation to be no lock on read. You may want to make it highly available, and you clearly want it to be as secure and simple as possible. So those may be your values. You see, depending on what you develop, the values will be different. So let's take a look at OpenTelemetry values. In the previous section about what, why, and how of OpenTelemetry, we discussed the values of, we discussed what OpenTelemetry is and why it came this way. So here are some values that inherited from that from those goals. OpenTelemetry values stability, resiliency, compatibility, and performance. Let's explore these values in details. Compatibility is perhaps the most important value of OpenTelemetry. With a number of stakeholders and supported scenarios, it is clear, we require clear specifications and follow as many standards as possible. It is very important to embrace standards like we did with Wac Trace Context. It's important to develop wire protocols in alliance with everybody. So OpenTelemetry does support all the standards out of the box and embrace them. Furthermore, we even built OpenTelemetry APIs inside of .NET with some compromises on specification, but nevertheless, it minimizes the dependency people need to take to be compatible with OpenTelemetry. And increased compatibility is valued way more for our project than some other alternative implementations. Next value is stability. With libraries taking dependency on OpenTelemetry, you want your APIs and SDK to be as stable as possible. So there will be no questions whether library want to take dependency or not. That's why some APIs prefer name value attributes instead of strongly typed objects. And we don't support many complicated cases which are one-offs in favor of simple scenarios that can cover those complicated cases in a more elaborate way. Then we value resiliency. OpenTelemetry have to be robust as any system library. It is designed to work in critical conditions and collect telemetry from application in distress. But not only that, OpenTelemetry is also needs to be developed resilient to critical and adapt to critical conditions. So it's okay to drop telemetry if you don't crash application on high memory pressure scenario. It is okay to send only critical events and lose some of them if your application is about to terminate and crash. So resiliency is an important feature. And finally, performance. Performance is a fourth value that I want to talk about. It's very critical because OpenTelemetry will be on critical path of libraries. Sometimes we compromise on performance in favor of other values that I listed before. But whenever we can get to this, it's a high priority. Values are driven by people. So every single person coming to the project brings his own view. And OpenTelemetry values are held by people maintaining the project and contributing to it. And while it's doing that, it attracts more people with the same values, creating self-reinforcement cycle of values. If you have opinions of what other values you want to bring into OpenTelemetry, and what values may be not that important, join us. And this is how you can join our community. It's a very last section, and I want to talk about how you can use OpenTelemetry and give feedback, how easy it is to contribute, and some projects that we run around translation of documentation. OpenTelemetry is a set of libraries. So we have we don't have any way to collect telemetry out of our users. So if you use OpenTelemetry, you gave it a try, you like it, you don't like it, give us a feedback. Tell which environment your application was running into. Tell which scenarios you love the most and which didn't work for you. What is missing? It's all very valuable feedback, and because we don't have any other means to collect it. So please come and tell us. We are a friendly community. If you decided that you want to fix a bug yourself or simply contribute, in most cases, it's trivial. In many cases, SDKs and APIs are very scoped projects. They're very easy unit testable. So in many cases, you only need to download it and run a test command. You don't need to have complicated environment. And there is always room for improvement, even for small one. As performance is one of our core values, there is always a piece of code that can be improved and made faster. So please come and help us make OpenTelemetry better. If you're not interested in making OpenTelemetry better, there is another way to contribute. You can go to a library and instrument that library with OpenTelemetry. This will help community tremendously because more libraries natively support OpenTelemetry, better monitoring and observability we can provide our users. There's also non-code participation options. You can share your thoughts via blogs and events. You can reach out to more people and tell them about this project. You can help develop website, join our website SIG, special interest group. You can plan and triage work. You can do reviews. You can file issues. Numerous ways to contribute. And there is even translation projects. If you don't want to change documentation, just translate it to your native tongue. You already started 2 projects. One to translate the documentation to Chinese and another to Japanese. And this project wasn't started by OpenTelemetry core maintainers. It was just started by some people who just wanted to contribute. So if you want to contribute to this project, welcome. If you want to start your own, please do it. It's easy. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for coming to this talk. I really appreciate you seeing this video or attending this talk. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or anybody in the OpenTelemetry community. And happy monitoring. Bye-bye.